Hello everyone, I am Mrs. Ester Massey. Today I will explain you a poem from your syllabus, The Village Song by Sarojini Naidu. Before we go into the detail of the poem, let me give you a brief introduction about the poet. Sarojini Naidu was a freedom fighter and poetess of modern India. She was born in a Bengali family on February 13, 1879 at Hyderabad and was educated in Chennai, London and Cambridge. She took part in the national movement, became a follower of Gandhiji and fought for the attainment of Swaraj. She is known as the Nightingale of India. She was also a noted poetess. Her poetry includes children's poem, nature's poem, patriotic poems, and the poems of love and death. About the poem. The Village Song by Sarojini Naidu is one of the great pieces of Indian poetry, showing the Indian motherhood and an approach by an Indian girl to her married life. This poem is in the form of a dialogue between the mother and a daughter. Here we see the mother is insisting her daughter to come to the world of reality by telling her how wonderful it is. But the daughter is happy in her own imaginary world and is scared of the reality of life. Let me read the poem for you. First stanza. Honey child, whither are you going? Would you cast your jewels all to the breeze blowing? Would you leave the mother who on the golden grains has fed you? Would you grieve the lover who is riding forth to wed you? The poem opens with a scene of a rural household where the mother is pleading her daughter not to run off. It's an occasion of her marriage. The bride is dressed with beautiful attire and ornaments. Though she is nicely dressed, she is not happy. Don't know why. Maybe she is tender-aged, or she is showing childlike behavior, or she doesn't want to get married. It seems she is bonded strongly with nature and feels unwilling to be shifted into a marital bond. The first stanza is full of questions from the mother to her daughter. With distracted mind, the mother called her honey child, which means sweet child, and asks her, where are you going? Further, she asks her, will she throw away all her jewelry and abort the marriage? She asks her again, will she leave her mother who has looked after her so well? Mother again asks her daughter, is she going to abandon her groom who is looking forward to marry her? This stanza is an open heart of Indian motherhood. The girl is very young, thus she cannot accept a married life for the time being. She cannot even think of that. It seems she is standing for her mother's will. But her mind is still giddy. She prefers to stay unmarried. To her age, her present free life is far more enjoyable than a dull married life. Second stanza. Mother mine, to the wild forest I am going, whereupon the champa boughs and champa birds are blowing. To the koil-haunted river isles where lotus lilies glisten. The voices of fairy folks are calling me, oh listen. In the second stanza, the girl answers her mother, saying she is going to the forest where champa branches are blowing and where the koil sings, where there are small river islands, where she can see lotus lies and lilies sparkling. Lastly, she says that she hears some fairy folks' voices calling her to the forest. Maybe that is her imagination to escape. The girl is fascinated by the charm of the nature. In her perception, the married life is mundane. Thus, she prefers pleasure from the nature than a dull married life. Third stanza. Honey child, the world is full of pleasure, of bridal songs and cradle songs and sandal-scented leisure. Your bridal robes are in the loom, silver and saffron glowing. Your bridal cakes are on the hearth, oh, whither are you going? In the third stanza, the mother further asks her daughter to come back to the reality, saying this world where she is living is full of happiness. Since her daughter is about to become a bride, the mother says that there is a bridal song that will be sung on her marriage, and further it will be followed by the cradle song, which means that after marriage, the next thing she is expected to do is to have a baby. And there is a lot of leisure time for her here. And she says that her bridal wear is being sewed and it has silver and saffron work on it. And it's sparkling, and even the bridal cake is being prepared. Now that everything is ready for her daughter to become a beautiful bride, where is she going? Fourth stanza. The bridal song and cradle songs have cadences of sorrow. The laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow. Far sweeter sound the forest notes where forest streams are falling. O mother mine, I cannot stay, the fairy folks are calling. In the final stanza, the daughter says the harsh truth of the real world, explaining that the bridal song and the cradle song will return into rhythm of sorrow and sadness one day. Yes, there is happiness today, but tomorrow it will all be gone and there will only be mourning of death and sadness. And this is the reality of life. But the world where she wishes to go is sweeter than the reality. There lies only happiness. In that world, she is sure of listening to only sound from the forest and streams falling. So she says, "Oh mother, please let me go. I cannot stay here. This world is not for me, nor I wish to make it mine. My world lies in the forest where the fairy folks are calling me." The poem ends with the strong determination of the girl to leave her home and spend the life in the lap of the nature, which gives ultimate pleasure to her. In this poem, the poet Sarojini Naidu is reflecting the real world and how girls are forced to do their duties by getting married rather than pursuing their dreams. Though written many years ago, the beauty of this poem is that it is relevant even to this day and age, where even now we see if a girl is not married at the right age, she is looked down upon, although she might be successful professionally, but that hardly matters. There is always rules and regulation a girl should follow throughout her life, and she has no freedom to do whatever she wants to, no freedom to live her life on her own terms. And that is the reality of life, which the poet is trying to convey through this poem. Now this is the time for you to do an assignment. Here are 2 questions given and you have to answer them. I hope you all have understood this poem. Thanks for watching this video.